call roll. Trustee Segura is here. Trustee Fosco. Trustee Belundes.
Here.
And now for public comment.
Yes, we do.
Meredith?
Yeah, we are.
I'm speaking to follow up on emails that I've previously sent about my concerns about changes to the meeting room policy, is including emails that I sent from the end of September. And those concerns still stand. I'm just worried that imposing a too restrictive meeting room policy would run counter to the mission and vision of Elmwood Park Public Library and further restrict the availability of third spaces that are something that are really needed. There have been a lot of articles about the importance of third spaces. I want to specifically address some of the security concerns that were raised at the November discussion on this issue. First, these concerns are not unique to Elmwood Park. Concerns about security and costs. And so I'm question whether such a high fee compared to other comparable libraries is necessary to address those concerns. Those concerns also are not unique to organizations without 501c3 status or the equivalent. And so I don't understand why kind of grassroots community-based organizations should bear the brunt of the fees. If this was an issue that was always important, why has no fee been charged before? Even for organizations that fully, clearly fell within the policy. For example, I believe that there was at least one for-profit organization that used the meeting rooms without a fee being charged, even though that was clear in the existing policy. Finally, other protections exist. Within the meeting room policy, it specifically says that the patron behavior code of conduct policy applies, which gives the library the flexibility to address any of those issues, whether it's security or liability that may arise. On a separate note, just because I noticed this, I wanted to look at what was said at the November meeting before making these statements so that I wasn't going off the reservation. And I noticed that neither September, November, and December board meeting live stream are no longer being linked on the website. I don't know whether that is a technical issue or a policy decision that has been made, but I hope that it is not a policy decision because that definitely impacts the transparency of the library if those aren't available to be looked at in the future. Thank you.
Oh, that was a YouTube situation?
Yeah, we're looking into it.
Okay.
Thank you, Meredith. Kevin?
In November, when this committee last met, Donna Cleason stood with residents and urged this committee not to pass a meeting room policy change that she described as very short-sighted. It wasn't the first time that she raised her voice here. She was a righteous person, a teacher, a bicyclist, a bread maker, and a gardener. She led the Elmwood Park Garden Club, a community partner with this library. But on December 19th, she passed away. We just wanted to take a moment to say how appreciative we were that she supported our community conversations here at this library and also understood the importance of questioning the norm and holding those in office to account. She was someone who regularly participated in public comment, so in that spirit, I turned to some unfinished business related to meeting rooms and the fees that residents are required or not required to pay if they wish to reserve a space, which is funded by our tax dollars. It's unclear what the committee plans to do, but to refresh everyone's memory, a motion was passed in November that temporarily suspended the fee while trustees looked at the fees at other libraries in suburbs in this area. Now the library board has the opportunity to take two steps that are important. Trustees can adjust the fee for organizations that do not have 501c status, and two, trustees can make the policy more clear so there's no question that the library is enforcing the policy in a fair and non-discriminatory manner. The Elmwood Park Advocate examined 46 libraries in the north and northwest Chicago suburbs of Cook County, and what we found is that 3 out of the 4 libraries do not charge groups, organizations, or residents to use their meeting rooms. Multiple libraries include a separate category for resident library card holders to reserve meeting rooms. Many of these suburban libraries broadly define nonprofit to cover civic, cultural, and educational groups, as well as hobby clubs that have not obtained 501c status. If a library does charge, that average fee is $10 to $50 and far below $100. Our view, which seems to be shared by the library director that nobody should have to pay for the room, is that the meeting room should be free for representatives of government agencies, 501c orgs, nonprofits, or not-for-profit community groups without 501c status, and resident library card holders as well. While no prior examples have been shared, I understand that the library board president and library director have suggested that the library must watch out for misuse of a meeting room or threats to security, but it should be emphasized that anyone reserving the room has to provide their library card number, address, and phone number. I just submitted 2 meeting room reservations to the library and filled out a meeting room application as required. I agreed to follow the meeting room policy, which says I will abide by the library's behavior policy and code of conduct that covers a broad range of abusive and potentially violent misconduct that if I engage in, I'll lose my privileges. By signing this form, I also agree not to solicit, sell, campaign, petition, or distribute materials or goods in the library unless approved by the library director or with a valid permit issued by the village. That ensures that the library isn't granting any organization, including this newsletter, access for an electoral purpose. So while anybody could theoretically form a community group and use the library meeting room, something I think the library should, by the way, encourage, it's not true that the library needs fees for safety or to prevent misuse. The library asks those reserving the room to state the purpose for their reservation, and if they are using it for something else, it seems to me their privileges should be revoked. The library should operate from a position of trust in the community, and I believe that anyone with a library card is probably a good person who deserves to be able to use the full ranges of resources available at their local library, and that includes accessing a meeting room for a not-for-profit purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Julia?
Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's good to see everybody. I just want to echo what Kevin and Meredith said. And sometimes I think about watching television with my mom. She loved Judge Judy. And Judge Judy used to say, if something doesn't make sense, it's probably not true, which I have teenagers, that's actually accurate. And I want to thank Trustee Fosco for pumping the brakes at the end of last year to look at the meeting room policy. And as trustees, with trust being the main part of that word, I would just like to say that if you do change the policy and if you do start charging community groups that don't actually have 501c3 status, I think it would be fair to ask the following questions of you. The first is, what is the problem you were trying to solve by changing the policy? When did it become a problem? And what's the trajectory of that problem? And how, in making a change, is life going to be better for me as a resident and user of the library, for everyone sitting here, and for you? So I'm looking forward to maybe hearing some discussion today of what's going on. Maybe nothing's changing, but if the change does happen, I really hope that all of those things are very clear. Identifying the problem, and how long has it been a problem, and how is my life better as a constituent? How is our community better if we do make that change? Thanks very much.
Thank you, Joy. Director Consiglio, was there any correspondence?
No.
Received? Onto unfinished business. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Sorry, and I'm just gonna clarify, approve the September 2025 BGPP minutes as presented.
Mine?
September. I'm gonna read this, the right one, BGPP? No, January. September.
That would be the minutes to approve the August minutes in that last week. That was the meeting minutes.
This is the January book. I handed you one.
Okay.
Here, I'll take my book.
All right, motion by trustee Belinda, second by trustee Fosco. Any discussion? No. Motion passes. Okay, do I have a motion to drink, I'm sorry, I will.
Did you roll call vote?
I have to do a roll call.
It doesn't have to be a roll call, I didn't hear a vote. Didn't hear anything. I'll just say all in favor, any opposed?
All in favor of passing the approval of the BGPP minutes?
Aye.
You guys have it? Okay, do I have a motion to bring the meeting room policy off of the table and out of committee as presented? Trustee Belinda, do I have a second?
Correct. Second.
Seconded by trustee Fosco. All those in favor, say aye. Well,
Let's go into discussion.
There's a motion to remove it from the table. We need to vote to remove the item from the table, and then we can have it discussed, yes.
It's an approval.
We should reword that motion, I think.
I didn't think you said that. I thought
You said to approve it and move it out of committee.
Take it off the table.
To take it off the
Approve as
table
presented.
and out of committee as
So we can
presented.
discuss and adjust the motion if needed.
Okay, let's have a motion to remove it from the table. That's what we need.
Ask them to amend their motion.
Can you amend your motion to take it off the table? Trustee Belinda? Trustee Fosco?
Yes.
And I gotta vote aye.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Is there,
Aye. You guys have it, to take it off of the table. Okay.
Now you can motion to accept or disapprove or whatever, accept as presented in your packet, then you can discuss it, adjust it, to approve it.
Okay, moving on to new business.
No, we didn't.
I'm sorry.
Someone should make a motion to approve the meeting room policy as presented and recommend it to the board. That should be a motion and then a second, and then you can vote on that. That will open up the item for discussion. Now, when it comes time to vote after your discussion, that motion may fail. You may decide you don't want to do that, but that's the way to bring the item up for discussion. So a motion to approve let's say the motion to approve the revised meeting room policy as presented and recommended to the full board. Somebody make that motion. You just said so moved.
Thank
On
you.
a second
Second.
and a vote.
Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry, you're right. So now, you have the item in front of you, you can talk about the revisions that have been made to the policy and the comments that you heard, or however you want to discuss it.
And we'll share the packet in front of you. First thing that we did was we clarified the types of meetings. The library's meeting rooms are intended primarily for library-sponsored programs and services. When not required for library use and subject to availability, the library may permit use by Elmwood Park governmental agencies and by organizations that meet the specific eligibility criteria established in this policy. All non-library use is secondary, permitted at the library's discretion, and must completely, fully comply with the board approval policy, scheduling, priorities, operational limitations. No use is guaranteed, and no organization is eligible unless it qualifies under the objective standards outlined in this policy. No meeting may interfere with the library operations and services. I'll go through one by one.
Sure.
Any discussion on that word?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Okay, the next change is in the next paragraph, meeting rooms availability. All I did here was just outline and change it to adult news services desk may reserve the space. Okay.
Okay.
The next change. It was a correction to make sure that on third page, the library that's 9 years old for supervision. Okay. Then the fees, under the category of fees. The Elmwood Park governmental agencies and the organizations that qualify as nonprofit entities, those that are incorporated under the Illinois General Not-for-Profit Corporation Act, will hold a valid Internal Revenue Service determination letter recognizing federal tax exempt status under section 501C or similar, are not charged a room rental fee. To qualify for a fee waiver, the organization must provide valid documentation indicating above status.
That tightens up the readily, not readily apparent, right? Is that the purpose of it?
Yeah, tightens up.
Yeah, that restricts the use. To, that's the intention, seems to be.
Yeah.
Well, if I could, that's not exactly correct. It doesn't restrict the use. It determines who has to pay a fee or not.
Right.
Right.
Okay. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't restrict the use. You're right. I should correct my language.
Well, that
It-
that
no,
was
yeah,
getting
yeah.
confused in the past, so I don't like to.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
But
that.
that's.
It does deter use, though.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Any discussion on that?
No, that's clear.
Okay. So the next one is under the fees continually, and for-profit organizations and groups not qualifying as a nonprofit entity described above pay $50 per instance to cover operational costs for room reservations and use incurred by the library. How that number is calculated is the total amount of hours. You start out with a bank that we have X amount of people, you have a total amount of direct hours that are available possibly to work. You reduce it then by vacation time, sick time, holiday, and you come up with a bank possible hours that are direct available to work, and you divide that into our levy and expenses, and we have about 38,000 hours available to work at this library. And that's how I came up with it, and it's all detailed in the previous email that I sent out, of approximately $63. I used 50 here for round numbers, then 63, but it does cost us approximately $63. Now, there's a question why other libraries charge less. If you think about it, they might have more money, more people, and they don't care what they recover. And the way you calculate it is the way that service organizations use this calculation. You have to get down to the total possible hours here. Another caveat is, and it's not included in here because I use total hours, is a management fee is usually percentage. Like, you know, if you have a service guy come to your house, he might make $40 an hour. Another 40 is added for all the other incidental. Here we just took total, and nothing in there for supervision is included in the number.
Okay.
Chair. And that's a change from the prior because this is per instance, not per hour.
Right, per instance too, not per hour. So it's a reduction from 100 to 50.
Well, as it stands now, it's $100 per hour.
$100 per hour.
So we were saying just per occurrence.
Okay. Any additional changes?
Other than boldface library card, you're not required if you're for profit.
Any other questions?
If I may. I know I'm repeating myself, and I'm sorry, but I am compelled to say that we should be encouraging people to use the library space. Right? We don't charge for books. We don't break down that analysis and say you owe us $1 to use the book. You don't owe us $1 to use the computer in the library. We want people to come and use the space. That is the point of the library. So if we're adding a $50 fee, and I want to be perfectly clear, I think we are adding a $50 fee because it was only when it's not readily apparent that someone has a 501c3 status. Why are we doing that? Are we adding a $50 fee because we need money? Are we doing it because we don't want people to come here? Right? I don't want to be antagonistic about this. Honestly, I don't. It's just I don't like to charge people to use the library if a room is empty.
Why don't we look at the occurrences, okay?
And we should want more,
Right.
rather than looking in the past. Your goal this year should be to get more people.
Who is using the meeting now?
Not enough.
But who else is there? Who else could use it?
I don't know. I see
People
5
that are
people.
paying $50, $100 across the street, you come here and do it for free?
Yes.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. It's not, how do I say it? Like, it's not uncommon for government institutions that have facilities to have room policies, facility rentals for recreation, meeting, programming. So while I understand your pushback, it's not something that just we are doing, and having a policy and having a fee aligns with many of our government partners.
I disagree with that. I guess if we're comparing apples to oranges, if we're going to compare it to a park district, sure, or a township office.
Well,
but if we're comparing it to a library, where the point is to have people come for free in the space,
But the
you do
library
not
is a
typically
limited
charge.
public forum.
I understand. I'm not talking about speech at all. This is not about what people are talking about. This is about people being in the space without charge.
It's still an expense to have that.
But so are books. That logic does not hold.
To set up the room, to set up these?
You have to come to work for 8 hours every day. I mean, it's just a part of the job. We don't charge additional expenses for a book.
Mike, you're exactly right, except utilization at this library is greater than any library that you ever worked.
I mean, I wish that were true, and hopefully one day
That's
that
not
will
true?
be. No,
The programming data doesn't support it?
Well, that's program.
this is irrelevant, and it's far from true.
Fine, I think we had 41 reservations. Now, there were a few instances when the study rooms are booked that they'll put somebody in here.
Okay.
But they will fill out the paperwork. Okay, the condo associations fall under that they don't have to pay.
Okay.
All right, so then there's the advocate group.
Mhm.
The Garden Club is a sponsored program with the library that John Bohannon works with. So I don't know who else that we could point
My
out.
point is that we want people to come here. There should be an effort made to say, we have a space, come use our space.
Well,
We have technology, we have things that you don't have at home. We want to help you. We should not say, I want your money, for using an empty room. Okay? It's a difference of philosophies, I guess.
And Mike, I just want to clarify, you had said that the condo associations do not pay or do pay?
they do not have to pay
Why?
because they're registered with the state, and that was covered in the policy.
May I just ask you that as a 50, how are you registered as a state through how?
I don't have a copy of the email. I did send them out the wording on that, and I'll be more than happy to give it to you why they're not.
Would the library?
Well, you know what, we're not really-
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I'll sit down with you afterwards if you
Please,
want.
I would like that.
Yeah.
But Pete, this does say a 501c3 or similar, and I think condos are 501c7 or something,
They're
but it's
under a
covered.
different as a nonprofit because they can't generate a profit. They're a
Yeah.
condo association.
So that's covered.
Now, the only thing I can say with regards to the 501, and this is going back several years ago, we had a civic organization, we had to use the library, and we had to pay, and then we went and got the status, and then we were able to use the room after that. And we did the same kind of programming that the advocate was doing, we had community meetings and so forth. And when they told us, and back then, I think we were still $100 back then. We paid it, but then we realized that it was so easy to get the non-for-profit status. We just went and got the non-for-profit status, and then that was the end of it.
I think, no, you're correct that it's not that difficult to get that, and I understand that.
No, it's
In
not,
that
but
situation, it makes sense. Like, if you know you're an ongoing group, like the civic organization, and you're going to want to continue, or if you are the advocate, you may want to do that. But I don't want this conversation, this policy, we shouldn't be drafting policies based on an instance of someone that we don't, whatever, I don't want to get into the topic, but this has clearly come about because of an instance with an individual group. I think we should be looking at the bigger picture. There was another group in October or something that wanted to use the space to come together for one thing. They're not going to have become a 501c3 because they have one community project they want to work on.
Right, and they did do it here in the building, and they ended up enjoying the area that we gave them because it was more room to work.
And I'm just trying to broaden the conversation from like an individual topic of like your civic organization. That makes sense. But if like my neighbors want to plan a block party and no one wants to host it in their house, and it's whatever. They want to do it here, and that should be fine.
Okay.
That's just a benign example.
Getting back to the other libraries and so forth, almost all the libraries had wording at one time of 501c3 because this is where this wording came from.
Okay.
We agree with that.
I'm
And
concerned
a lot
with
of
the
them have moved
future.
forward
Yeah.
from it.
And we should be looking ahead to where others are looking ahead.
Mr. Chairman, did you look at local libraries too?
I did. I was able to do also an analysis on about 10 libraries surrounding us to include not just of equal size, levy, or population, but also just looking onto our neighbors to see comparables on meeting room policy as well as fees. And based off of that analysis, I came up with $50 per instance is comparable to all of our neighbors. Any other discussion?
Hmm?
So now I can make a motion to approve
You
this
can-
policy.
There's an active motion.
You got a
for-
motion
So now
already.
you can vote on it, and then that pushes it to the next meeting.
The motion, just so everybody's clear, was to recommend the policy as revised to the full board. So now you should take a vote on that.
Hey, Mike, was there anything else I wanted to ask? Was there anything else that changed?
No,
Otherwise, it's the same except for what was in yellow.
That's what's in yellow. There might have been some grammar cleanup, but other than that,
So it's the same as it's been all along, except we're reducing the fee.
and,
Oh,
and
that's
clear,
a
and,
purpose.
well, right.
Adding a fee.
No, we're reducing.
Okay.
But, Mike, but we're reducing it from 100 to 50.
Yeah.
And instead of 100 an hour, it's to 50 per occurrence.
Yeah.
And is that not correct? Director Consiglio?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There were two alternatives presented, and that was one of them.
I think there's also
current
is the
policy
addition
Right?
$100 an hour.
It was $100 an hour.
$100 an
But
hour.
instead of $100 an hour now, it's 50
$50 per.
occurrence.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then it's, if they use the kitchen, so it was, and that language remained the same?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like $25.
$25, and that's always been that one. Okay, so it's not an addition to, it's actually a reduction by half, but it's
I
better than that.
think it's it's an addition because it says if it's the current policy says that a local nonprofit can use the room for free if it is not apparently not profit. You can look at any group. You could look at a group of moms who are coming together and say you are obviously not generating a profit. You could look at the Elmwood Park Advocate that says we are not for profit. That meets the criteria for readily apparent as a not profit.
Okay, does that
Right.
exclude, would this then exclude Boy Scouts monitor for that? Would
They're
that
not
include, okay, would that include baseball or the Rush, but they're nonprofit also?
Right.
Right. It's just
Girl
tightening
Scouts.
that with that must, that says you have to show,
Okay,
there's no subjectivity about it.
okay. And then if a group of moms did want to come in, they have a library card, they can come in and use it.
For $50.
If they're more than, they would fit into a study room. And we do have an area perfect for moms to work on projects. Up on the second floor, bigger than, about the size of the Ferentino.
Okay, and they can
And has a
utilize,
work area perfect
and
for
they can
any
utilize
project.
that at no
They
charge.
can- Right, and no charge.
Okay, so they can utilize that at no charge, okay.
But just to be clear, that's you're just talking about the space of the library. There's just tables and chairs that you would sit at out in the library, not like a screen or a microphone or chairs. You know, he's just talking about using the main floor
No,
of the library.
It's written in here on audio visual.
No, I'm talking about your exception. You're letting them use the second
Oh,
floor.
that area?
That's
We would help them out in that area.
Possibly.
If there's no further discussion, we'll call this to vote. All those in favor?
Yeah, you probably want to do a roll call.
I'm sorry. Trustee Belundis?
Yes.
Trustee Fosco?
Yes.
Trustee Segura? Yes. The motion passes. Okay, on to new business. Okay. We have a bunch of policies here to include, well, I guess I'll just make the motion, right? To
Well, let me explain that all the policies have been reviewed by our attorney, the Board of Trustees bylaws that just had additional clarification regarding if someone should leave the board, that process. That's the only thing that cleared it up on that one. The other ones are, as highlighted, you can go through and the majority of all new. The Freedom of Information Act policy is new. The cash application procedures, I changed one word. It's more of a title change to circulation manager. Transparency and communication policy is a new one. Credit card policy is new. Purchasing and contracting is new. Training and professional development policy is new. Animals in the library, new. Identity protection policy, new.
And do I have a motion to bring the current, the meeting room policy, the Board of Trustees bylaws, the Freedom of Information Act, cash application procedures, petty cash policy, transparency and communications policy, credit card policy, purchasing and contracting policy, training and professional development policy, animals in the library policy, identity protection policy out of committee as presented. Trustee Belundis, do I have a second? Seconded by Trustee Fusco. All those in favor say aye.
Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I have a quick question. The FOIA officer, that's gonna be signed by you,
Yeah.
and the same thing with the BSA.
Yes. Associate.
Mr. Chair, can I have just one thing?
Yes.
I just have a question with the bylaws. The duties of the secretary no longer has to read correspondences at board meetings. Is that intentional and that meant to be excluded from that?
I think there's an option. It leaves it up to my discretion. And I think for the most part,
We choose to read the good ones.
I choose to read what comes
Yeah.
to me.
I know you're new.
Whatever
You're new.
has come to me, I've been pretty transparent about any correspondence that I've received.
Okay. I think it should remain in the policy.
Sorry. Could you repeat that change?
It was about the board secretary reading correspondence.
Say, read all the correspondence presented to board members.
I know it's hard to follow, but on the end of it is the changes. Page 13.
Where are you at?
The changes to the bylaws are added on page 13. So this is from here on, or this is
Yeah.
changed from the other one. Page 5 is what it is currently, and page 13 is what it will be. I think that's the only change, other than like shortening sentences.
Okay. Thank you. You guys have any further discussion on that?
I just want to go hold my.
Yep.
But Mike, doesn't it say read all correspondence presented?
That's what it currently says, yes. But page 13 is what the proposed change is, and it doesn't say anything about reading correspondence.
saying there isn't a change.
No,
No, he's saying that there is a change because you're looking at it.
Because you're removing it.
And what was it?
I would just propose that we include read all
Right.
correspondence
No, I
presented at
see
board
that.
meetings.
And
So is there a reason why that was omitted? Doesn't have to be read in the meeting? We normally do get a copy of the correspondence in the packet. So you
can
get
share.
to.
This gives it, this gives the secretary the option.
it doesn't
Does
even
it-
give it
does
the
it-
option.
It does. Yeah. Can I just suggest a proposal maybe you would want to make to just include the line "read all correspondence presented at board meetings"?
I'm gonna agree with
Each
that.
member should be furnished with a copy of the minutes of the last meeting.
So if you get 20 emails on something, you're gonna read every single email.
It should happen.
We
You're gonna
haven't
be there
in
a
the
long time,
past.
even if it's distributed to the board
It's
at a time,
important.
because it's communication for the board, not for the general public. So maybe reword it. I mean, I happen to agree, it should be reading correspondence. But I'm just letting you know what you're looking at.
Council, any suggestions on wording?
You could certainly, not all correspondence was ever read at any meeting I ever attended. All correspondence means all correspondence, right? So every note or bill or email, maybe relevant correspondence or correspondence directed to the board.
Yeah, I would agree with read all correspondence received
directed to
by
the board.
the board of trustees.
Well, that's what we do,
Presented at
and
board
then
meetings.
I read any that come to the director. We're currently doing that right now, but we could.
But we
That's
would
what
no
the
longer
director's
be. Yeah.
report does.
Right, that's in the director's report.
So I think a sensible amendment to the policy changes would be for the secretary to read at each meeting, all correspondence received, all correspondence directed to the board received since the last meeting.
And I think emails to the director would be in the director's report at your
Right.
discretion there.
One thing I'd like to include, you have to put the packet goes out, let's just say, 3 days before. I get one on a Saturday. I can't put it in the packet, I'm not gonna review the whole packet. Somebody comes in,
Well, I mean,
No.
I
It's
mean,
not-
can we put a caveat in there, a time frame?
It's not on the packet. It's emails sent to trustees so that the secretary receives an email. It would be read aloud. It's not. You wouldn't have to redo a packet.
Yeah, moving forward, just forward.
Okay.
You can
Well,
just
that's
get,
good.
print out
Or
the
if it's in the
email.
packet, or do you leave it in the packet because everybody's getting it, the board's getting it.
Mm.
And anything that comes after that, you read aloud.
you could leave it in the packet with the idea being, if someone wanted to send one of these AI generated emails that went on for 87 pages, you don't want to commit yourself to reading that, right? So
100%.
I don't know if there's a fair way to, or a sensible way to express it, like, read relevant or, all is not the right word.
No,
Summary?
all is not the right word.
Summarize, how about I
Or
identify
summarize the list of communications that have come in,
identify
and then if
summarize
we wanna
communications.
read the whole entire communication, we could.
I think that's a great way to do it. Identify and summarize communications received by the board. And then, so we can say, I got an email from this person about this, and then if somebody wanted to hear about that, they tell them. That makes sense to me. It's up to you guys, there's no legal requirement.
No, but at least we can list the communications that are there, we can read the list of communications that have come in. Not saying that we have to read each and every single one, unless it's something that's pertinent, and if there's something that stands out that we wanna ask a question for, we can ask that be read at the time of the meeting.
But identify when correspondence came from so-and-so regarding.
Correct.
So-and-so.
Correct.
Okay.
Because there are certain communications that would be privy to us that can be read, but if there's something that regarding, something that would have to be handled in an executive session or something like that, I was still wouldn't want to be reading those kind of communications, but at least the list, I think it'd be great.
I can agree with that.
Okay, so you had a motion to approve and recommend these policies, right?
I did.
And so now that motion has been amended to make these changes to the, to amend the proposed changes to the bylaw.
Right, the Board of Trustees bylaws.
So it's a motion to amend the motion to change the revision, the recommended revisions to the bylaw. Somebody should make that motion.
Do we have a motion?
I have I'll make that motion.
Trustee Melendez, do I have a second?
Second, so moved.
Okay.
What exactly are we putting in? Are you putting in identify and summarize communication direct to the board and communicate this during the board meeting? Is that the exact verbiage you want?
We wanted to summarize communications that come into the board. You know, the individual board members.
That are directed to the board.
Yeah.
To the board and communicate this during the board meeting. Right?
Correct.
And that's under the secretary section.
Correct. And like I said, most of the time we do read that stuff and it's.
If I get communication, I'm more than happy to.
So just to
share.
not muddy up, maybe try and clarify, so when the board takes this up later tonight, that'll be what the board, the
Right.
full board is voting on, that
That's why I'm
amended revision.
Correct.
Right, and it'll go in section 3 and page 13.
13.
Do I have to take to vote the amend,
Yes,
Yes.
the motion to amend?
yes, and then you have to vote on the motion, the original motion as amended. So the first motion is whether or not you want to amend the motion.
Yes.
And I thought we
And,
did that.
and we did that.
We'll redo it again if we have to, so.
Did that, everybody voted yes, right?
Yes.
Everyone voted yes.
Now there's a motion to approve and recommend the policies as amended to the full board.
So moved.
Trustee Fosco, seconded by Trustee Melendez. And then I take a vote, yes? On that motion?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Trustee Fosco, second, do I have a second?
Yes.
Trustee Melendez, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, we are adjourned.